the first breath of creation, realms and worlds beyond our comprehension came to exist, and with them, many celestial beings as well. They had godly powers to protect the world and give life. Yet there were some contributing little to existence. The aspects, content only with self-centered philosophies. But then there was one who loved to create. Aurelian Sol, the Star Forger. Now, there were other celestial dragons like him, but Aurelian Sol had seldom encountered being equal to him. Then one day, he discovered a new world, not his work, on the orbit of one of the suns he crafted ages ago. Even the aspects were intrigued and seemed invested in it, so they spoke to Aurelian Sol. Here lies life, magic, and fledgling civilizations. They are in dire need of a celestial guidance, so come hither, here to Targon. Thus, Aurelian Sol went to bathe himself in worship, and the aspects commanded the mortals there to present him with a splendorous crown. Who could possibly resist the gift from his creations? But alas, it was a trap, a setup by aspects and Targonians. Consequently, he was hurled back and imprisoned in the heavens, with the crown siphoning the knowledge of creation from him. The aspects of Targon commanded the mortals to construct the sun disk, a structure they could steal the celestial dragon's knowledge of creation with. With it, the aspects raised up god warriors for future conflicts to come, and the mortals were able to build a great empire, named Shurima, which we will discuss further in a later chapter in this video. Besides from the creation of the universe, lied beyond the manifestation of the unknowable, the nothingness, the void. Beyond understanding, but yet without meaning, a realm of total oblivion beyond the universe. No one knew why or how void came into existence. The void just simply existed like a shadow to light. But even in that nothingness, sentient beings came to existence, calling themselves Watchers, and the concept of creation in the universe beyond intrigued them. With the understanding of the material universe, the Watchers created the Voidborn as their physical, conscious extensions to adapt and consume to usher all into oblivion. The celestial aspects of Targon saw this as a threat and fought against the void. Thus, the long-lasting war between the aspects and the void began. But despite the universe at war, more new civilizations thrived on that faithful planet, and we call that world the place of rune and magic, Runeterra. Runeterra, a name derived from runes, the material pieces of arcane powers that shape the world. From the first land, Ionia, Valoran, the largest continent, many isles formed across the seas, and another large continent in the south. Across this vast planet lived Vastayas that had both animal and human characteristics, demons driven by negative feelings of mortals, mysterious race from the spirit realm, the Yordles, and humans who built nations. Various sapient species emerged on Runeterra. The southern continent consisted mostly of arid deserts with inhospitable heat, and its inhabitants today are mostly nomadic. They adapted like taming skalashis for transportation, or locating reservoirs through dormant senses, doing whatever they could to survive. But this continent is where the ancient Shurima Empire was. When the Shurima Empire ruled the continent, the empire used the powers of the sun disk to give life to the desert. And with this power, Shurima magically ascended its warriors and expanded across the continent. The neighboring kingdom of Ikathia also fell before Shurima's might, and its people were subjugated and enslaved. But after many years, with enough preparations, Icathia was ready to reclaim their land. And so, the war between the oppressing and the oppressed. The mages of Icathia seemed to have the upper hand, but they could not overcome the might of the Ascendant. Until the mages channeled into the void. The terrible Voidborns unleashed into the physical realm was sure to overrun the Shrimans fighting the unknown. And so, in front of the walls of Icathia, the Voidborns roared menacingly, and even the Ascendant trembled in unspeakable terror. However, the Void wasn't something that could be controlled. The Void Rift consumed the entire area. Icathia was erased of existence, and its territory became wastelands. Although Shurima lost many of its ascended warriors, they managed to contain the swarms of Void. But they were not able to completely close the rift there. Despite the loss, the Shurima Empire was still strong, until a conflict from within destroyed the empire from the inside. When Shurima fell, the Void traumatized Ascendant felt purposeless and gradually became corrupted, wreaking havoc and called themselves the Darkins. And it wasn't until the Aspect's interventions they were imprisoned within their weapons, although it was only their body and not their minds. West of Shurima is the tallest peak of Runeterra, Mount Targon. Reaching its summit was considered the wildest dream. Only a few resided in the unforgiving environment, but thawing ice in the summers provided water, and there were wildlife that adapted. The Racker people lived among the wildlife there, and they were beholden to the sun-worshipping faith, Solari. The sun-worshipping faith strongly rejected other faiths, such as Lunari, the moon worshippers, and considered them as vile heretics. Meanwhile, another legend clung to the peak of Mount Targon. Those who make it to the summit would be granted unimaginable strength. But as we can expect, the ascent in itself was a difficult trial. The treacherous conditions of the slopes fluctuated constantly, so there was no set path. And what made things worse were the hallucinations of testing, and to be judged unworthy was to die. But if a brave, worthy soul actually completed the ascent, the sky would be veiled with shimmering light to show a mythical domain beyond, and the celestial aspects would come down to meld with the mortal, and they would be blessed with incredible power to forge history. But not all of those who made it to the top became aspect hosts. If their soul was lacking, they would find nothing. Despite the risk, many were attracted to Mount Targon, and its legends still bring many pilgrims to take the challenge. Valoran, the largest continent, also thrived on its own, hosting many factions on the land. On the north, there was the Freljord, the harsh, frozen lands home to 3 major tribes: the Avarosa, Winter's Claw, and the Frostguard, that tried to rule Freljord with their own ideals. But Freljord was not a land of vast ice and snow in the past, when there used to be no snow at all in the Freljord. Ornn, who loved smithing with his heart, Enivia, the guardian of Freljord, and Volibear, who favored war and domination. These 3 are the demigods that emerged in the land. Ornn, the oldest of the 3, said to have wrestled with the mountains to build this magnificent home, the Horn Hall. But Ornn's sister, the Cryophoenix Enivia, became so annoyed because Ornn felled their favorite tree and tickled Ornn's nose while he was asleep to make him sneeze. So Ornn sneezed the gout of flame that set the Horn Hall ablaze. Enivia quickly ran away after that, but Ornn simply went on to build another home. This time, he forged the Hearth Home out of inflammable ores, but the forge was too hot even for Ornn. So to cool the Hearth Home, he dug a trench to the sea and cooled his home for 3 days and nights. The ocean that fed the river dipped several inches, and the steam risen mottled the sky with gray clouds. The Freljord went through 100 winters. That was the tale of how Freljord became a harsh tundra. The people who dwelled in the icy mountains forged weapons with true ice, a gift of nature, and formed large and small tribes to survive, valuing honor, strength, and courage, making them one of the toughest warriors of Runeterra. Then there was another war that engulfed Runeterra entirely. The World Runes, the very power that shaped the world. There were many who wanted to get their hands on them, and eventually 2 powerful nations engaged in great magical warfare trying to claim the World Runes. But the power of the World Rune was uncontrollable. The sheer power of the World Runes struck a cataclysmic blow that decimated nations. Rise, one of many rune mages, saw his master Tyrus fall to the temptations of wielding the World Rune, and was forced to put him down. The Rune Wars ended with merely nations destroyed. But Rise knew it could have been worse. So with his abnormally prolonged life due to rune magic, he started going across Runeterra to warn people of the dangers of the World Rune. Meanwhile, the people who survived the Rune Wars eventually built another nation. People gathered on the western end of Valorant, and under the guidance of a hero named Orlan, Demacia was founded. Being refugees from the Rune Wars, they rejected magic, and these substances called petricites, formed from peculiar trees there, had powers to absorb and dampen magic. So Demacians used the material to build defensive walls or forge weapons to counter mages and such. With strict prohibition on magic uses, the nation grew to value justice, honor, and morals. The lands were rich in natural resources, and there was more than enough food for everyone. Demacian steel was known for its quality, and Demacian military could also team raptors in their warfare. Fleeing and surrendering prohibited by military law. The Demacian military was one of the strongest in Valorant. But the strong resolve of this nation could also be seen stubborn. Behind the light, there was nobles' elitism, and their hypocrisy in secretly utilizing magic despite its stance, like 2 sides of a coin. And this ignorant stance of Demacia was not welcomed by all. Despite this, Demacia was still a strong, lawful kingdom, and its prestige remained unfaltered. However, Demacia was not the only mighty nation in Valorant. There was another empire to the east of Valorant, and beyond the blue seas existed even more mystic places, and places scarier than death. Many more factions beyond our imaginations were at play in Runeterra.